Vice Chair Rowland. All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Those of you at HQ, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and the rest of us will salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The chair would like to entertain a motion to move the executive session up in front of the operating budget to make it number 10 and move everything down. Commissioner Lawrence motions. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Chan, for the second. All right. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with nay. Great. On to the consent agenda. Authorization for payroll summary for July 2022. Payroll summary and authorization for August of 2022. Healthcare EFT claims totaling $205,367.60. Claims vouchers 122236 to 12284 totaling $69,963.32. Claims vouchers 12285 12304 totaling $283,782.57 for a total of $559,113.49. Chair would like to entertain a motion to pass the entire consent agenda. Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. So moved. Is there a second? Do you have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Teoflack. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion for the consent agenda items? None appearing. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with a nay. All right, motion carries. And
Chair, can I have a quick point of order, please?
Sure.
The agenda as a whole was not approved after the adjustment was made to it. Can we just do a quick vote, motion second and vote to approve the agenda as amended?
Sure. The chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the adjusted agenda. Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence, for the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I saw Commissioner Chan on that one, sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with nay. All right, motion carries. And on to the new recruit introductions and swearing in. So I'll hand that off to you, Chief Hobus.
I'm going to pass it over to Chief Wells. Chief Wells.
Good evening, commissioners. This evening, we're going to swear in class 2022-3. They joined us last week and will spend a couple weeks with the training division in pre-academy before they begin the Snohomish County Fire Training Academy, which is hosted on our drill grounds. This class is made up of 24 entry-level firefighters and firefighter paramedics, lateral firefighter and firefighter paramedics. And at this time, we'd like to introduce them to you, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Hobus to do that.
All right, thanks, Chief Wells. Good evening, commissioners and staff and new members of our organization that are class 2022-3. Commissioners, this is a big group. So as I do these introductions, I'm going to introduce you to these new people that have joined our organization, and this is going to go across 2 screens, so it's unusual for us. So if you don't see somebody wave when I call their name, then they're on screen 2. So we're going to start with them saying hello by waving with probationary firefighter paramedic Jocelyn Husson. Perfect. We started out good. And probationary lateral firefighter paramedic Avis Teagan. Okay, screen 2 on mine. We've got probationary firefighter Rhea Zaruk. All right. Probationary firefighter Katie Ness. Probationary firefighter Justin Collins. Probationary firefighter Robert Hodge. Probationary firefighter Kyle Olson. Probationary firefighter Daniel O'Brien. Probationary firefighter Austin Bach. Probationary firefighter Braden Stewart. I see one of them right looking at me right now. Probationary firefighter Randy Sear. There we go. We've got probationary firefighter Bay Georgian. And probationary firefighter Rocky Intapana. Probationary firefighter Tiffany Stevens. Probationary lateral firefighter Parker Andreas. Probationary firefighter Devin Heckard. Probationary firefighter Patrick Demery. Probationary firefighter Ethan Bloser. Probationary firefighter Maggie Matthews. And probationary firefighter Tyler Hendrickson. Probationary firefighter Stephanie Dapper. Probationary firefighter Noah Silverman. Probationary firefighter David Stacy. And probationary firefighter Cole Isaacson. That's longer than my normal fire chief report, commissioners. And again, these pictures of these recruits are on the packet, page 41 through 43. But for those don't have the packet and their families that are watching today, we wanted to give everybody a chance to at least say hello in this meeting today. And recruits of class 2022-3, are you ready to take your swearing in ceremony oath? And I know you guys have all practiced and are ready to go. Okay, so now is the time to go off of mute, recruits, and I'm going to administer the oath. Are we ready?
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Sir.
Raise your right. Perfect. Thank you all. Raise your right hand. I state your name, do hereby declare
I, Jocelyn Wilshire, do
hereby declare
that my fundamental
that my fundamental duty is to serve
that my fundamental duty is to serve
people of the South County Fire community.
the people
of the
South
South
County
County Fire
community.
I swear to protect, safeguard, and preserve life,
I swear to protect, safeguard, and preserve life,
health, and property against fire and other perils.
health, property,
against fire,
perils,
And to maintain a proficiency in the fire service.
and to
maintain
maintain a proficiency in
fire service.
I will uphold the standards of my profession and position,
I
will uphold
the standards of
my profession
and position.
serve the people and members of the Regional Fire Authority,
serve the people
and members of the
Regional
Fire
Fire
Authority.
and will share my knowledge and skills with my colleagues.
and will share my knowledge and skills with my colleagues.
I recognize the badge of my office
I recognize
the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
as a
symbol of
public
trust
and accept so long as I am true
and
accept so long as I am true
to the ethics of the fire service.
to the
ethics of the fire
service.
Recruits, this is my part. Okay. If you, as a member of South County Fire and Rescue, agree to these standards and responsibilities, please say I do after the following statements. I accept the self-imposed and self-enforced obligation as my responsibility.
I do.
I make these promises so solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
I do.
Great job. I shared with the recruits, everyone that's watching this meeting, but commissioners, that I had a tough time with that the first time I did it. So I would like to congratulate you on how you did tonight, especially in a virtual environment. I'm going to turn this back over to Chief Wells. I know you have a busy day tomorrow. For family that were able to watch this today, I hope that you understand the importance of this. We are welcoming them to our South County Fire family. We chose them, but they chose us. And then you're part of that too, for them to be here today. This meeting is recorded, as you know, recruits. So if your family, friends that you want to share this with, maybe in a different time zone, maybe somewhere else in the world, this is a great day for you. I want to congratulate you, and I'm going to turn this back over to Chief Wells. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And Chair Daniels, with that, now that the recruits are sworn in, they have a long week and they have an early morning in the morning. So, sir, if possible, I'd like to excuse them from the remainder of the meeting so they can climb into bed and be ready to go in the morning.
Almost. I believe Commissioner Chan has his hand up and would like to say something before they depart us.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly say welcome. And just a question to Chief and the staff. You did a great job. Is that one of the requirements? They have the big, nice smile. Is that the requirement for the job?
I think it helps in life. And actually, we talked about that today with the recruits, kind of the do's and don'ts of Zoom meetings and just being here and, putting your best face forward, which is with a smile on your face. And I know this is a happy group to be here and to join our fire family. So I know it's not a requirement, it's not a test, but the smiles speak for themselves. So good question. Thank you, Commissioner.
It's just a great job, great share with the whole meeting. I appreciate that. Welcome.
I noticed the smiles as well, and I was like, man, I don't smile as a data analyst, so I'm impressed. Commissioner Farnahoff.
I just want to really, from the heart, welcome everybody. What you're about to embark on is an amazing journey. It will be one of those journeys that you, at first, will think that you only have a few doors to step through, but as time goes on and you realize the diversity and the strength of the fire service, you will be amazed not only at what your opportunities will be, but how you will grow as individuals. And it will define you for the rest of your life. So on behalf of the RFA and the commissioners, I welcome you aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard. Okay, DC Wells, you can dismiss them.
Thank you. Recruits, you may be dismissed, and we'll see you in the morning.
All right, on to public comment. Anybody from the attendees list wish to make a public comment? Please just raise your hand. All right, I am not seeing anything. So we'll go on to the fire chief's report.
Thank you, Chair Daniels. Again, good evening, commissioners, staff, and meeting attendees. We're going to go right to some graphics right now. My fire chief report will be a little bit briefer. Just a reminder, commissioners, my supplemental report was sent to you, and also some answers to the questions posed earlier by Commissioner Kenny. So thank you for the opportunity to provide that as well. So we're going to start with this item that Mali Terrace Mayor Kyoko Matsumoto Wright invited South County Fire to participate in a hometown hero celebration in Bellevue Saturday. Commissioner Chan was able to attend, and one of our on-duty crews from Station 21 Martha Lake. So we have a really nice time at the event. I heard very good things about the event itself. Received thanks from the crew for really being able to participate, to represent our organization. So I just want to thank Mayor for the invitation, And just, I know we were the only fire department, I believe, that was there, and especially in a different city. So really proud of our organization. Thankful that we were invited to be part of former and active duty veterans, law enforcement, and fire service professionals to be there. And with that, thank you. We'll go to the next slide. Commissioners, chiefs had a busy day today, and we started out with a great event. So as you've met class 2022-3, this is the class 2021-2. And at station 14 today, firefighter paramedic Jessica Jelsic on the right got her off probation helmet, as well as firefighter Brittany Adkison. And we'll go to the next slide. And two more at station 23, that is firefighter Ian Dutzen and firefighter Brian Jacobson. Commissioners, we're not going to do this every week, but it's just important that we have been doing this already this week. And as these recruits you're seeing today get through the academy, get through probation, this is what happens on the other side of that. What was neat about today that I wanted to share is now that we're getting a different look at COVID, as it is continuing to change and morph, that outside we were able to have family members at distance be part of this celebration for these individuals to be recognized, also to talk about what their why was, how they got here, some of the funny stories or comments and things that I remember pretty well from their fire chief interviews. It's a great opportunity for us. And so families could be there, and also the crews outside, and it was just a good day. So with that, any more slides, Lori? We've got no more slides. That's right. So that concludes my fire chief report. Be happy to take any questions or questions to staff. Thank you.
Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Farnahoff.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could get the rest of the commissioners to smile as nicely as you do your recruits. I think that was amazing.
Yeah, and I got a challenge coin. I was going to say, I got a challenge coin from one of the people that Commissioner used to work with, as we talked about early at the Washington State Fusion Center, and it was just a great day. But yeah, we've got happy people, happy recruits, and happy families that support them, which was really nice. So yeah, today's a good smiley day. So we're doing it here. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief, for your report. We'll go on to the union report with VP Moore.
Good evening, Commissioners.
I'm sorry, Chair. I think you point of order. I think you missed the public comments. I see
No.
30. But you didn't ask for public comment, did you?
I did.
Yes.
Before I went to the Chief's report.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I missed that. Okay.
All right, VP Moore.
Good evening, Commissioners. Hey, thanks for having me here tonight. Good seeing you all. Tonight's union report is going to be pretty short. Don't have much to share. Just short of that, right now we're currently working with administration, just going ahead and getting a lot of the new collective bargaining agreement changes, the positions and stuff, working on trying to get those changes implemented. And so we're happy to report that's going well. And so I know our members are pretty happy again with that. So I just want to thank you again for that. So, but other than that, I don't think I have much else to report unless you have any questions for us.
Commissioners, anybody have any questions for the union? All right. Thank you, Moore, for your report. And we will go on to unfinished business with Bob Schweitzer and Executive Assistant Melissa Blankenship. Melissa, I'll hand it off to you.
So at the last meeting, it was requested, or there was discussion about a fourth map presentation opportunity that encompassed bringing in Mill Creek to some different commissioner districts. So that was sent out to our subject matter expert, Mr. Schweitzer, and he worked his magic once again and provided us with a version 4, which was sent out to the board, and I'll let Mr. Schweitzer explain.
Hello, guys. Can I get screen share for a moment?
Yes.
All
Should be
right.
good.
So this is an interesting idea. The only real changes in here is the makeup of what does the western side of Mill Creek. With my plan two, I had brought the 4th district down from the top and picking up Mill Creek. In this case, what I did was I simply removed all of Mill Creek out of the 4th and then looked to see where that would adjust to. So it's very interesting that we are able to come up with the line of I-5 along here, which follows the trend of using 405 and 525, along with most of Highway 99 along here. So it gives us a very interesting look to this plan. Whereas most of my alternative plans have raised the count of precincts being split, we still only have the 2 precincts being split, the one here and the Linwood one down here. Our population deviations are not bad at all. We're less than 200, which makes it below 0.5%. Be very hard for someone to argue to have that this is not as equal as possible based on the parameters of minimal splitting of precincts and trying to follow cohesive lines that make actual sense. Again, we still have a very diverse racial breakdown throughout the entire fire district. We don't have any large tribal areas that we need to be cognizant of or those types of situations. The remaining slides are, here's the inset of the 1st. There's a nice broad inset of the 2nd, the 3rd, and the only problem with this plan is, sort of this jagged running line through here, whereas they have a relatively clean line between the 1st and the 4th, and most of the other lines. It is sort of the nature of where the population and the way the precincts are laid out in Mill Creek. It's unavoidable. The only other potential possibility would be to potentially have the 5th coming in and picking up some areas up into here instead of having the 5th come down as far. But the 5th still needs to at least go through this particular voting precinct in this area to bridge over and connecting into this area, simply because of the fact that we need to make sure that the districts are contiguous. Before we had Mill Creek in here, the 5th just sort of, bridged the one island to the other island wherever it seemed logical. Here's an inset of our 4th. The only deviation from I-5 is for this one precinct here, done for population parity. There's our 5th. Here's our current district. So the 1st goes a little bit further up above there. The 2nd used to stop at around here. Now it picks up everything except for this little sliver out of the split precinct. The 3rd was in this area, the 4th was in this area, and the 5th was in here and along this area as well. So there's a couple of insets of some of the boundary areas and of course insets for each one of the 2 split precincts. Questions, please.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah. I like this plan. Personally, I feel more akin to Mill Creek. I'm a lot closer to Mill Creek. I do most business down there. So I like this one. So no changes. This is the one everybody votes yes on this, right? No. Oh, well, yeah.
It does have a nice, pretty flow to it. I do have to say that.
Yeah. It's Yeah, I put my stamp of approval on this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. Commissioner Kenny.
Yes, Mr. Schweitzer, would it be possible for you to, because this is plan number, map number 4, I believe. Is it possible for you to just take us through map by map, 1, 2, 3, and end with 4, just so we can refresh our recollection about the other maps?
Sure. Pop that
And,
one
and not each of
close.
the, not a, just that overall map, so we can just see the flow from 1, 2, 3, and then end with 4.
The big picture.
Yeah, so here's number 1. The districts went up to here. And then the problem with this one was the fact that there were 3 commission districts intersecting in Mill Creek. Because adding Mill Creek in this plan, I just sort of threw them together. Not really thinking that much about that. Plan number 2. This is where we had the 4th coming down into Mill Creek. The oddity of that would be this precinct Jeff over here because of the sitting commissioner in that area. This is one of the reasons why I really like Plan 4 over Plan 2, is that it is less convoluted in Plan 4 versus Plan 2. Plan 3, the main thing of this was to look at what would it take to have a more of an east-west line between the 1st and the 3rd here. What would the impact be on bringing the 3rd down into the North Linwood area a bit more? This is entirely possible to do this with the 4th as well. If the liking of the plan where I have the 3rd going into Mill Creek and having this area taken over by the 3rd, well, if we were to try to exercise this, we could potentially look at the 4th district moving south and taking over the area west of I-5, but then the 3rd district would have to take some of the area in the north part. If this particular boundary line is desired when it comes to this plan number 4. So here is the approximate area of that east-west line. If we were to do that, we would have the 4th coming down into here, and then the 3rd would be sweeping up into here. This all would go into the 4th as well. So, but this is a nice, simple, very logical areas to have for each of the 4 commissioner districts. And now knowing better where the locations of the commissioners are, this does just seem to flow better with the locations of each of you guys.
And so, Mr. Schweitzer, if you could just go ahead and leave that one up, this last one, map number 4. I would say that this, thanks for doing this. This coincides more with my vision of how the map would look, because being in District 5, I kind of work or think about this from east to west. And I know you said in your initial maps, you were thinking from west to east. And some of your maps, I just hadn't thought of it that way. Not that that's bad. It's just different than how I was thinking. But this reflects, you and I didn't talk, but this reflects my vision of what it would look like, dividing Mill Creek into two districts with 5 and 3, Commissioner Lawrence and myself representing Mill Creek. But I do think that there is another factor, which I believe I mentioned last time, that we do need to consider, and that is my District 5 and Commissioner Lawrence's District 3 are not up for election next year. And in our bylaws, I don't have them open in front of me, but my recollection is that the non-voting member from Mill Creek, Board Member Todd, Mill Creek has a non-voting representative until the next election after redistricting, where a election cover, one of those election districts, not the at-large, but the districts, occurs in all or some part of Mill Creek, i.e. until there's a district election in Mill Creek has a representative. Next year, neither, unless Commissioner Lawrence or I resign in the meantime and there becomes an election next year to serve the short term, there won't be an election in 5 or 3. And so Mr. Todd or a representative from Mill Creek would continue to be on the board through 2025, when there'll be elections in both districts 5 and 3. So that's something to think about, because I enjoy Mr. Todd being on the board. He's been a real value add, in my opinion. But I do think that institutionally, the reason that we had the kind of a transitional position, an opportunity for the city to be represented in an interim period of time, was for a limited duration. A year and a half is a limited duration. 3.5 years, that's a longer limited duration. I guess you could go either way on that. It seemed a little longer. And I'm thinking perhaps institutionally, it would make more sense to have it just be a year and a half as opposed to 3.5 years. But I do think that is something for the board to consider, which may lean back towards plan 2 or 3 with Commissioner Rowland's district coming down. That's District 4 coming down and taking Mill Creek along with me. Those 2 maps, again, just have 2 districts, 4 and 5 taking Mill Creek. Because Commissioner Rowland is up for election next year, that would mean that the non-voting member position from Mill Creek would come to an end at the end of 2023. So that might be the potential. That's just something to consider in thinking about maps 2 and 3. Also, map 2, if I recall correctly, has both 2 and 3, just like this one, 4, have 2 commissioner districts for Mill Creek. Map 1 has 3. I mentioned back when we talked about map 1, I'm not as in favor of perhaps 3 districts for Mill Creek, when Linwood only gets 2 and Linwood's almost twice the size as Mill Creek. Map 3 gives Linwood, I believe, 3 seats. I don't necessarily have a strong opinion about whether Linwood should have 2 or 3. I guess I could go either way. They certainly should have 2. And Mill Creek having 2, that makes sense to me. And so I do like map 4. It kind of coincides with my vision of how this would be drawn. I do agree with Commissioner Lawrence about what I call community of interest. And that is, I feel like the Martha Lake area, which is kind of centered on this map 4's Commissioner District 3, that area is more of a community interest with Mill Creek and makes sense representing it, as opposed to Commissioner Rowland in District 4. District 4 would, if I'm recalling that, those maps 2 and 3, they go across the freeway. And to me, the freeway is a significant divide between areas of interest. Bridging, there's nothing wrong or illegal or wrong. There's nothing, you can certainly do that. I just think that this map with Commissioner Lawrence and District 3 as drawn here is a little more of a community of interest with Mill Creek, if I recall correctly. And Mr. Todd can chime in if I'm wrong, because my memory of this is from a number of years ago, but portions of what's drawn here as Commissioner District 3 were or may still be in Mill Creek's urban growth area. And that just kind of identifies, or at least in the past was, kind of maybe leans towards thinking about that as a community of interest. But of course, all of these are legal. Nothing's illegal. It's just trying to sort out what works the best. So I think we may want to think about maps 2 and 3, but I do have to say I do like map 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kinney. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, I think Mr. Todd was ahead of me there. Go ahead.
Oh, then the order of things looks like you were first. So, Mr. Todd.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for letting me jump ahead. So, Commissioner Kenny, I just looked up the bylaws and I had not remembered, but that's the bylaws you passed. Indeed, it has that language that's kind of boxing you in. I think when we as a city entered into the annexation agreement, our intent was to have a liaison until such time as there was an election. Interesting that the bylaws said until someone from Mill Creek is, let me quote the words exactly here. Entitled to one non-voting position on the governing board until such time as a commissioner is elected from a commissioner district covering some or all of the participating jurisdiction. Post redistricting. I guess that's a surprise to me. You guys were the ones that worked on those bylaws updates. I don't know if that's that important to us. I think that from my standpoint, I'm staying way back. I've been watching you guys talk about this for several weeks and I'm a little puzzled. I think fundamentally, what's important to Mill Creek, more important to everybody, is that voters throughout Regional Fire Authority get to participate in every election. For Mill Creek citizens, their first chance is 2023, but every election from 2023 and beyond. So the people who annexed in Mill Creek into South County Fire, Regional Fire Authority want to be able to participate in the 2023 election, and they can. The commissioners that are elected to represent not just their district, but all of the RFA. As I understand it, you have this little bit different kind of system where the districting is used for primaries, but everybody in the RFA gets to vote for all the commissioners when it comes election time. And some of those commissioners have terms ending in 2023, either because they were appointed or because that's the cycle they're on. But I think that gives every voter, not just Mill Creek voters, a chance to have a say in the leadership of the RFA starting in November 2023 at the general election. Interesting, I was listening to the chief earlier when he was giving the oath to our probationary firefighters and laterals, etc. And he was saying very clearly, the duty is to serve the people of the South County Fire community. And I think that's the charter for all of the commissioners too, is to serve the people of the community. It's not to serve your district, it's to serve everyone. So this districting thing to me is, I don't know if the lines are really that important. Should they be a big deal? If they are a big deal, then I'm wondering, well, why are they a big deal? Maybe it's because the bylaws have got this thing in there. I think you have the opportunity to change the bylaws again if that really disturbs people. You could go back and revisit that. I think you could bring that back up if the prevailing side, which was everybody, I'm pretty sure, wanted to rethink that. Maybe I'm making this a bigger problem than it should be. Short term, you're trying to figure out how to add 21,000 more people, 4.9 square miles. Mill Creek folks felt like it was more appropriate to join South County Fire at the end of their contract with the Fire District 7 and Surfer. It was a better place for us. The community said 75% yes, said it makes a better fit for us to be with other citizens, property owners inside the urban growth boundary. The densities and the general nature of development and the way things happen inside of the urban growth boundary made more sense for us. And so people hitched their wagon to South County Fire principally because of that. And I don't think it's whether they're from Mill Creek or they're from the county or from Linwood really matters so much as do they feel like they can be represented on the board. I'm also thinking longer term. I think this whole group feels like hopefully the other contract cities that South County serves are going to be joining in the next year or two. And so do you really want to go through this process again when you add a Montlake Terrace or a Bry or eventually Edmonds? I don't really know why you have districts other than I think it made sense when Linwood and Old Federers 1 formed the RFA. I get it. Linwood wanted to make sure they didn't lose out. But I think maybe that time has passed. I think this is a new agency, and I don't really know why we have districts now. Is this a time to kill off districts? Maybe not, but that's why I'm kind of going through my mind. Long term, when you add a Briar, maybe not a big deal. It's not that many people. You add a Montlake Terrace. Oh my goodness, you cannot stretch these 5 districts to cover Montlake Terrace without big changes. So do you really want to go through that? Fundamentally, the property owners wanted to be part of this organization. They did not want to be part of a district so much as they want to be part of this family. And so treating Mill Creek folks as the new kids, that's okay for a while, but I'm anxious to quit this job and have the voters be directly represented by all of the commissioners and be a part of the family, not talked about as the exception. So with that, I guess that's a long speech, but that's kind of where my sentiments are. Thanks.
Commissioner, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Representative Todd. Commissioner Lawrence?
yeah, that was, I really appreciate Mr. Todd here being on the board. He's got a lot of experience, and after all that, let's see, I'm trying to understand what he just said. It's like, all right. So I was going to ask, if I had gone first, I was going to ask if Representative Todd would stay till 2025, but he answered that question. So, no. And but I think what he's saying is that
Yes,
why do we have these districts? The other reason I understand is because we get people that are spread across. If there weren't any districts, then you could have a concentration of guys all like in one area because they know somebody, and they trained them how to get elected and all that. And it can control by a little cabal of people. So you need these districts so people are from different parts. I'm not sure why. I think like Mill Creek, we have a representative from Mill Creek here now. Until, to me, it makes sense to have representatives see what's going on, to report back to the city. And then when did officially we start being the fire department for them, when we take over in the beginning of the year, that he could say, okay, there's no need for me here now. I will, we're represented by Commissioner Lawrence for the most part. And I don't know why any interesting about having a new election, having someone voted on, it doesn't make any sense at all. Just when Mill Creek's satisfied, they don't need a representative, seeing that we're on the up and up. And they can give a representative until 2025 if they want, but why bother? They know we're taking care of business. And so, well, if I made any sense, I'm not sure. But, okay, thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. Vice Chair Rowland?
Yeah, all I was going to say is, I mean, the bylaws are in the middle of being amended. If they need to be amended in a way that, accommodates redistricting in Mill Creek, since this is the first time it's happened with an annexation, it's not a big deal that we could change that to be a majority. We could change it to be anything we really wanted. At the end of the day, it's about, number one, making sure that it's fair and consistent for both Mill Creek, what Mill Creek wants, and what the contract cities that are looking at annexation would desire. We definitely don't want to be changing it for each city, but at this point, I think that we've gotten some good input. I think we may want to talk with those contract cities that are considering annexation, just to make sure that they're on the same page, so that if we make a change to the bylaws, we make it once, and hopefully it sticks. But bylaws are subject to change as needed by the organization, so I don't think we should focus on the current language overly much, just knowing that if there is something with the current language that needs to be tweaked, we can do so.
I think we can take down the map now.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rowland. Mr. Todd?
Yeah, so I think I'm reiterating a little bit what Vice Chair Rowland just said. So forget Mill Creek for a minute, go a year forward maybe. Breyer says they want to join. Well, right now the bylaws say Breyer has a representative until somebody from Breyer holds up their hand and wins an election for a commissioner. I don't think that's what you guys had in mind. Because Breyer, all due respect to Breyer, I love Breyer, but they're kind of small. And so,
if I may, we can change the language, but I believe the intent of it was to make sure that until there was at least one of the precincts, one of the areas that are encompassed by the annexed area gets a vote, that we aren't just proceeding on with a board that has
Okay.
no one to actually represent their interests. So
Okay,
we can
yeah.
change the language, like I said, if there's confusion around it.
You guys can hash this out in the bylaws subcommittee and whatnot. So thank you for your input. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Schweitzer? Chief Hovis.
Thank you, commissioners. Staff does not have, what did Commissioner Shakti say?
A dog in the fight, huh?
Dog in the fight, exactly. Thank you, Mr. Todd. But I will talk about communities of interest. And since I worked for Mount Lake Terrace Fire Department that also served Briar, even though they are different in size and in nature and have different needs, they also, one has a city manager, the other has an elected mayor. They, Mount Lake Terrace has a population of approximately 21,500. Briar has 6,600. And of the combined 7.5 square mile area, and looking at that, I'm not sure which commissioner represents District 1 right now, but is that Commissioner Teofalak?
I believe so.
Okay, so understanding the election cycles and those sort of things, I could see Briar and Mount Lake Terrace being a little resistant, even if they were go as early as an election in February or April of 2023 to join in August 1st of 2023 and really be part of the January 1st of 2024. That might be a really tough hill to climb with electeds due to the 6-year terms of commissioners. So in the discussions previously with staff from the city of Mount Lake Terrace and the city of Briar, I think they have a very similar perspective to what Mr. Todd has shared and what the city of Mill Creek shared. And in fact, Mill Creek, I know, contacted Mount Lake Terrace to make sure they could be the first city that had M in the beginning, alphabetically, MILL versus MOUNT. So as we come into the 18th year of the 20-year initial term of the agreement with both entities, which comes up here 2 years, January 18th of 2023, it'll be the end of the 18th year. I'm not speaking on behalf of the staff of Mount Lake Terrace or Briar or their elected officials, but what we've been talking about is going to impact annexation by those two contract cities or Edmonds or anybody else that wants to look at us. We're talking west east. The next most likely potential annexer are to the south, and those combined are larger in population combined than the city of Mill Creek, and there's going to be implications if we're waiting 6 years for someone not named Mr. Todd to be representing those. So again, this is a discussion that is tied in with bylaws, it's tied in with commissioners, and it's tied in with Mr. Schweitzer. Staff has no input other than this is going to be a story problem that's going to have to be considered in the future. Thank you. Assuming Briar and Mount Lake Terrace annex into the RFA, which is all of our hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, I keep hearing this term, Chief just used it, represented, to be represented. When they join the RFA, they're represented. We changed the boundaries and like Mill Creek, changed the boundary, they're represented. But maybe not someone that lives in that area, but now that's a area that has a representative. And it's
I don't disagree with you, Commissioner. I just remember with the formation of the RFA, how important it was at the time to have the city of Linwood have 2 of their council members on the board initially. And I think that was hit on by Mr. Todd. And I don't know what that looks like. I just want to bring that up that these things could flex and change.
Not to say the semantics here, but to say to be represented, well, they just joined a group that has a representative. Everybody's trying to slice this up into niceties that don't make any kind of logic or any kind of sense. And if Mr. Schweitzer could delete everything that he has except map 4, and we could vote on that, that'd be great. I was kidding.
And that's good, because I'm not sure I can do council meetings on Tuesday nights and your meetings on Tuesday nights until 2025. I appreciate those who are looking out for me, Mr. Kenny, I'm just too old to do this. There's a limit.
Are we moving on?
Chair, if you're speaking, we can't hear you on this end.
There we go. I muted myself and didn't unmute. Thank you. So, Mr. Todd, you don't have a succession plan for after the 18 months is over?
My plan was somebody was going to get elected at the 2023 election for whichever seats are open. And by the rules, I thought I was going to be done. And Mr. Kenny pointed out that, oops, I was asleep with a stick when you guys passed those bylaws, and I might be stuck. I'm not sure that's really what I planned on. So yeah, a poor succession plan.
Well,
and I think it goes back to what Mr. Lawrence just said, is that really come January 1st, when South County Fire, or December 15th, or whatever day we finally pick, when South County Fire has firefighters in Station 76, and therefore, and the transition has happened, indeed, whatever 5 commissioners are in districts and the 2 that are at large will be representing everyone. I think that the intent of the pre-annexation agreement, the reason you guys stuck this liaison or non-voting member onto the board, was to say, until the people have a chance to have representative, we don't truly have a representative government in South County Fire if 21,000 people out of however many felt like they didn't get a chance to vote. So I think this was an olive branch and a good one to say Mill Creek's got a little bit of say, but I think that say is going to go over time. I think my role right now is to make sure that Mill Creek citizens voted to come in thinking it was a certain fashion. So I think this budget process is important. I think your work plans for the next budget are important. I think the transition is really important, but I'm hoping after January 1st and all those things are in place and you guys are off and running in the year 2023 with that budget, that work plan, that staffing, that I get to take a little bit easier because I could turn to my neighbors and say, I think Mill Creek is in good hands. And I think they will be. That's what I'm headed for. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Any further questions for Mr. Schweitzer? All right, not seeing any. Thank you for the 4th map. Hopefully that'll be the last map that we ask of you. We have 4 to choose from. I don't know that we'll need a 5th, but I've been wrong before. So
enjoy the discussion, guys.
Thank you. All right, on to the community outreach program update, Fire Prevention Week with the community outreach manager, Shauna Ray Guzman.
All right, good evening. So tonight I'm just going to provide you with a quick overview of some of the community outreach team's activities over the summer. We consider summer May through September, and it has been quite a busy one, an exceptionally busy one, as everybody is eager to get out and see people face to face and have that positive interaction. We've reached about 3,000 residents just through our online classes and in-person presentations. That's about a 500% increase to pre-pandemic numbers that we would reach because of this hybrid approach. So we're going to keep that moving forward and continue to reach more residents through that model. As far as events go, we've reached over 20,000 South County Fire residents through our in-person event participation. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight of all the events that we've done this summer is our fire camp. So Lori, I hope you gave me screen share. Just gonna do a quick presentation. All right, so for those of you who are new to South County Fire, I'm gonna give you a little history. Pre-COVID, we hosted a fire camp at South County Fire with about 30 kids that were in attendance. And those 30 kids spent a week with us and learned about fire safety, teamwork, and careers in the fire service. Very labor intensive, a lot of hours and a lot of money spent to put that camp on. We realized pretty quickly that we weren't really reaching our full community because there were a lot of barriers in place, like transportation, funding and financing for people to join a camp like that, and language barriers. So we decided instead of people coming to us and limiting it to just 30 kids, we were going to go out to the communities and we were going to provide a mini fire camp. And that's what we did this year. So as you can see, we did a fire camp in each of our cities that we serve, as well as the unincorporated area of South County Fire. We did one at Silver Firs, Mount Lake Terrace, Briar, 2 in Linwood, and 1 in Edmonds. And I'm proud to report that we reached over 1,000 people in comparison to those 30 people that we would normally have reached in just a traditional fire camp. So during the fire camp, they got an opportunity to meet and interact with our firefighters, learn about the tools that our firefighters use in their everyday work. As you can see, there's some kids here in capes. Our theme was being a fire safety superhero, so that was an exciting thing for kids to participate in. And they got to spray water from a hose. Some of the days that we did camp were our high temperature days. So the pictures you don't see here is some of my team actually jumping through the water to bring our body temperatures down because it was pretty hot out there. So here's a few more pictures of kids using those hoses. We also have, if you can see in the background here, we have some other obstacle course activities. This was at our Edmonds location. We provided bike helmets at our Briar location because we did a bike rodeo. So kids could bring their bike or their scooter. If they didn't have a bike or a scooter, we provided one. Kind of a fun fact, most kids these days that we encountered do not know how to ride bikes. So we incorporated scooters in our bike rodeo so that it was accessible to everyone. In addition to bike helmets, we also provided life jackets through partnership with Seattle Children's and Safe Kids. We were able to fit life jackets at this community event and provide some safety information to families as well. All of that was available in 7 different languages. And then, of course, we had the opportunity to interact with our community, talk about our classes and services that increased some of that class participation that we talked about. We had people outreach to us after the event to help with car seats and smoke alarms and just basic general information. We had Seattle Children's at this particular event, and Support 7 also partnered with us. Here's just some of the activities that you would see through our obstacle course. We had them do a warm-up just like firefighters would do at the beginning of their day, so they didn't get hurt when they're doing physical activity. Here's one of our little tubes they crawled through. This is an example of get low and go. So if they're ever in a house fire and they need to escape, they'd crawl low under smoke. Learn to call 911, and even adults were fire safety superheroes. And Mayor Frizzell joined us at one of our Linwood events, and she was proud to wear her cape the entire event. So this is just one of many of the events that we put on. We try to be very thoughtful about reaching everyone in our community and making sure that there's an educational component to everything that we do. So coming to the conclusion of our event season, we have a Fire Prevention Week open house. If you go to page 61 of your packet, I believe the flyer for this is on page 63, but don't quote me. But that'll be Saturday, October 15th. We would love to see you there. I want to thank all the commissioners that have attended our events this summer. It was so nice to have your support, and we really appreciate you being there. Our Fire Prevention Week open house will have Red Cross, Support 7 will be there, and Snow 911. So we have community partners joining us. And as you can see, we'll have lots of fun activities for the kids. I'm going to stop sharing here. If you go to your packet, we have a Fire Prevention Week resolution that we hope you will consider signing tonight. Fire continues to be a public safety hazard in our community, and across the nation, fires are actually on the rise. Not only is this a public safety concern for our residents that we serve, but also our firefighters and their health and safety as well. So this Fire Prevention Week resolution, the theme for this year is Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape. And that is because families have as little as 2 minutes to safely escape in a fire. And so we'll be out promoting correct and smoke alarm installation, changing out smoke alarms older than 10 years, and then having a family fire escape plan, kind of like a fire drill you do at school. So hopefully you will sign that tonight and we can do some work getting it out to our community. And we hope that you join us at the Fire Prevention Week open house. Any questions about our summer events before I turn it over to Chief Fitzgerald?
I thought you guys did a great job with your summer events. So I know that my boys enjoyed participating.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chan? Oh, you're on mute. It gets us all.
I just anchor what our chair said. I think one of the goal of the prevention is that call never made, that save everybody, reducing the call. I took a few classes of Shawnery, and afterwards a conversation. She actually heard my alarm, the fire alarm was the battery's gone out, and oh my God, she got a good year. So you got to give her a call and she'll tell you what you need to do. Thank you, Jean-Marie.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes, I missed that. When's the open house?
It's October 15th, second Saturday of October.
October 15th. Okay, very good. Thank you. I'll be there.
Perfect.
Vice Chair Rowland.
I'm learning stuff all the time. Did you say the trends for house fires, like the numbers are going up?
Yep, nationally the numbers are going up. Not sure why. They actually started going up during COVID, and they don't know. They're still trying to do some evaluation to why that might be. People were home more, they're cooking more, they're spending evenings by the fire more. So there's a lot of factors that could go in with that, but also stress factors or financial factors may make it difficult to replace smoke alarms. So that's why we have a smoke alarm program through South County Fire. We partner with the Red Cross for that as well.
If you have any like papers or reports on that, I'd love to just add it to my collection of data.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll forward those to you. I get monthly publications about it.
Any other questions? All right, Shawnery, I think you're going to pass the baton to AC Fitzgerald.
Yeah, you're on.
Good evening, Commissioners, and Chair Daniels. Just a question. Would you be interested in entertaining a motion to adopt the resolution that Shawnery mentioned before we move on? And if not, we could certainly try to take them both at the same time, the one that I'm about to speak on.
Commissioner Kenny, you have your hand up?
Yeah, let's move that resolution. I'll move the resolution 09-202022-15, resolution proclaiming October 9 through 15, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week.
Do you have a second on the motion?
Well, you do, Commissioner Lawrence.
Vice Chair Rowland, I saw your hand go up.
I was just going to second it if Lawrence wasn't. So yeah, go ahead, Lawrence.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Appearing none, let's go ahead and proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Okay, so I take that as a signal to move on then, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Before I talk briefly about fireworks once again, I just want to say how proud I am to be a part of South County Fire and what a tremendous community outreach and PIO team we have here at South County Fire. You see the face of Shawnery, but she really represents a whole incredible team of people. That team who is out on the weekends, in the evenings, interacting with our community and putting on these events. And they're really a successful team, led by Shawnery, assisted very strongly by Leslie. But I think this would be just a great moment to remind the commission that here at South County Fire, we employ the Washington State Public Fire Educator of the Year in Shawnery Guzman. And so just a reminder of that. She's a tremendous asset, and she's recognized not just among her peers here in the communities we serve, but statewide as this Public Educator of the Year. So that's a worthwhile title to to carry as long as they'll let her carry that. But I would like to bring your attention to beginning on page 65 of your packet. Just a brief discussion about fireworks again, because what we found is in our cultivation of stakeholders, which is part of our fireworks reduction plan, we're missing one of the tools in our toolbox, which is really kind of an open statement of the commission. We certainly have the letter that went to county council, encouraging county council to adopt a ban on sales of fireworks. But as we approach our stakeholders, we're missing this key component here. And so presented for your consideration is resolution 092022. Let's see, let me try that again. 0920-2022-16 in your packet on page 66. We would ask the commission's consideration of adoption of this resolution just as another tool for us to encourage stakeholders to join us in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, AC Fitzgerald. The chair would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution 09202022-16. Commissioner Kenny.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second on the motion? Commissioner Lawrence. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Appearing none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with a nay. Motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. And now we're going to go into executive session pursuant to potential litigation, RCW 42.30.110 sub 1 sub I. And let's go ahead and start off with 20 minutes. Melissa, do we need to get Rich on the horn?
Yes, I'll take care of that.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and slide over to the executive session link then at this time. All right, I will see you everyone there.
The executive session has been extended for 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 5 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 10 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 10 minutes. The executive session has been extended for 15 minutes.
Wasn't for the Seahawks, I know that.
Okay.
All right, we are on to item 10, 2023 operating budget.
Chair Daniels?
Yes.
You call the meeting back to order and state the time, please.
Calling the meeting back to order. It is 9:16 here at Tuesday, September 20th. We're going to move on to item 10, the 2023 operating budget with the Chief Financial Officer Bothwell and Fire Chief Hovis.
Good evening, commissioners. Share a PowerPoint here. All right, so this is part 3 of the decision packages presentation. I'm going to start with just a quick update about the budget. The county just released its 2023 new construction numbers, and South County Fire's numbers are really close to what we had in the revenue forecast that I presented back in July. So just a heads up that things are looking good there. We will get the county's levy limit worksheet, which will have the actual values for us next month. And so we'll let you know if the final values vary from the estimates that are in the budget currently. But just wanted to make you aware that we're looking pretty good with our forecast. So this is the third of these presentations, but just as a reminder, the chief is still formulating his budget proposal. So any of the items included tonight may or may not be included in his budget proposal. And again, the purpose of tonight is to share with you some of the operating needs that have come out during the budget process and also to seek your feedback on those needs. So we have 2 items for you tonight. The chief is going to present both of these. And the first one is the add of a brush truck to the fleet. It's a one-time item with a 2023 cost of $255,000.
Thank you, CFO Bothwell, and we'll have a graphic at some point with this that Lori will be sharing, not right now, but I'd like to direct you to page 69 in your packet. Commissioners that were here as part of the budget process last year heard me talking about that we need a brush engine, in my perspective, to meet the operational needs of our community. And I'm talking about South County Fire. We talked about the west side of the state getting drier and warmer. We currently have a brush engine and have had one on loan from a smaller fire district that's in Getchell Fire District 22. So imagine Marysville's urban growth area, across Highway 9, and the area that's in between Granite Falls District 17, bordered by Arlington Heights Rural Fire District 21, and north of what is currently served by Snohomish Regional and Fire and Rescue. That engine that their commission and their fire chief has allowed us to use has given us the opportunity for 365 days a year to have a brush engine down here. So if it happens to be here, we can respond to it for brush fire type needs within the RFA. Commissioners, we have had a wildland program for many years. We have sent structural engine teams out to help in faraway places as far as California, when California was burning. We've been to Eastern Washington through also what's called a MAPAR system, so helping people within the state for state mobilization. We've done that here also locally when other agencies have needed us. And through an EMAC agreement, we've been to places like Oregon and places like California. There's other agencies that do have brush engines that are the comparable size or close to a size, like the city of Everett, like Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue, like Marysville, and some of these other agencies. There is brush engines out there, but we cover 53 square miles and about 300,000 of the 900,000 population of South County Fire, or Southwest Snohomish County makes up about 1/3 of the population. Been watching the news, and I'm going to tell you, it was, Community Outreach Manager Shauna Reese said summer used to be May to September. Wildland season used to be that too, and now it's happening all the time. There's very urbanized agencies, including Seattle Fire, that also have brush engines as well. I'm hopeful that Getchell Fire District 22 will continue to allow us, really at no cost, to have that brush engine down here, and that when we need to use it, we can. When it goes out, they make revenue on the brush engine for reimbursement. That's a great revenue source for them, especially as a smaller fire district. But the same type of risk is here. And if we have the ability, hopefully, to keep that brush engine when needed to go out, we don't have any resource down here to do it. If you've been watching the news recently, the city of Everett had a brush fire event that was really by a PUD station that had to have a big response. And also areas of the city of Monroe were placed on a level 1 evacuation notice with a brush fire there. And we actually had an event today that we thought was a fire residential. There was a vegetation fire, involved a fence, and was running up the hill. That's the first report from our crews, which would have got into the air. It's Cedar Way. So imagine Mount Lake Terrace South and areas that just make it tough to get to. So our structural engines do a great job, but brush engines have a task and can go down even small spots like, Commissioners, the interurban trail that goes all the way into SOAR 21's area and runs right past here. And you can't get a structural engine down there. So this is a bring back. The number that's there may be opportunities to acquire grants in the future. We've talked about, do we want to get a grants, a procurement person and administrator of those grants? There could be opportunities for us to do that. We could maybe partner with other agencies, but most of them already have these brush engines. I'm not asking for this to be able to send it to the Natchez Fire or somewhere different than these events that I've talked to you about before. I'm bringing up now a graphic, please, Lori, to think about our 53 square mile area that we cover. It does have a significant portion of what is not wildland, but interurban interface areas. And a lot of this, when you look at these red portions, some of you might live in these areas, or we had commissioners that lived in these areas before. The Norma Beach, Meadowdale Park, Picnic Point Park, the Wind and Tide area, areas throughout all of our jurisdictions, but really concentrate on that area east of Martha Lake, the Hilton Lake area where we had a very large event in the past, and also what looks that Station 13's area at Silver Firs and the interface of what gets into Snohomish's area. And there, it's a lot. We're a big department. We cover a lot of people, and as most of it have streets and fire hydrants, absolutely. But when we need these units, there's no other way to get it. Can we call automatic and mutual aid to have, Sultan and Gold Bar and Sky Valley Fire and all those places you heard about when they had that fire? Yeah, if they're available and drive time down Highway 2 or down SR9, as long as they don't have a fire there too. So that's the first item that I have, and I can continue with the second one, or I'll pause for any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawrence, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah. The brush truck, from what I remember last year's discussions, this would be the one piece of equipment that we could buy that it actually pay for itself, or when it's being used somewhere else. Though you just said we don't really want to use it, so we want to keep it here for us just in case. I'm a little unclear about that.
Yeah, I would clearly lose the ability for this organization to now say, hey, Chief Hotz, tell your commission that we're not going to be able to send out your rig first up, because there's an order in which that happens when they're called up, and Getchell gets called up first. We get the benefit of that. And I'm not here to tell you that we don't need it for ourselves, but it better be burning pretty hard if we're sending our people with that brush engine, and then send ours as well. Because I've talked about through this process, Commissioner Lawrence, and that's a great question. We need to think about taking care of ourselves, and also to have a depth of our people, of the apparatus needs, and we need to have the people with the knowledge, skills, abilities, and the equipment that can support them. So if we have something like this, and I guess you're going to roll into my next item, where something's burning, that we can have the resources. And we've talked a lot about the risks of, wildland firefighting, different things happening. So I think we need to have one of our own. And if we can continue to explore partnerships and keep that one with Getchell 22, I'd like to make that one go out first, and we keep that second one unless we need it. So let's say in this county, that makes a difference to me than going over to where my family grew up and go to, Natchez, or, the lower Yakima Valley or White Swan, because there is brush engines over there. They got one at each station. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, okay. So that is the idea, that this is something that would produce revenue is not the case. And Getchell might want their brush truck back too. And but we'll keep it as long as, because they make money when we send it out. When I first was elected, before I even was sworn in, there was a to-do up there at the headquarters, and the head of the emergency management in Snohomish County was there. And that's my first question. What are we going to do on the west side here when we're like right now, this year, we're dry as a bone. There hasn't been any significant rain to matter for months. And you get the right wind and something gets set off. I live in a place called Wood Trails. It's just, there's a lot of stuff to burn and houses to burn with cedar roofs or asphalt roofs. And we could have a catastrophic event here in this, what do you call this area we're in? It's not wildland, it's
urban interface, as the things. You can't spin around in a circle and not see a tree.
Yeah,
pretty much anywhere within the regional fire authority.
a lot of
one square mile equals 640 acres. We're 53 combined.
All the brush, because we didn't have to everything keeps growing. It's raining all the time. It's just incredible amount of fuel. So
we had a red flag warning today, meaning the conditions are dry enough, the relative humidity and the winds, that if something happens, and I'm not just talking about what happens at a fire that's in a tree line. I'm talking about it extending to people's homes and getting to the point where these sort of resources can help in those specific areas. And just, just those areas that I showed you are clearly identified by the Department of Emergency Management for this county as those areas at risk by topography. of where they're at and where there's enough fuel where it's not just going to be a brush engine, but it's what will help even on Interstate 5. If you're going northbound today, not right now, from 164 to the 128 off ramp, about half of that has already been torched, either by discarded smoking materials, a spark on anything else that's just out there. That just happens. And it's just another, I would call it a tool in our toolbox. And we get to decide organizationally where we send it. We can put it in a roster, and those commissioners that have had the benefit of the Snow Isle Fire Commissioners meeting, when we talked before, and Chief Waller from District 4 talked about how many resources are out there on the west side with brush engines. Well, there's quite a few. There's more in Eastern Washington, but they're made to go make money generally, or because they're in more rural areas where they don't have the urban growth area here supporting them. But, Everett, city of Everett looks a little bit different than South County Fire right now for density, and they've got one. Toilet Tribe has one. You can go on and on and on. So anyway, that's my presentation on this specific item, and I will go back on mute. Thank you.
Commissioner Kenny.
Well, thank you. Yes, Chief, I appreciate that you are trying again on the brush truck. The board has turned down your request or previous chief's request for a brush truck for many years. I don't know, going back 7-8 years, something like that. I think that a brush truck is South County Fire taxpayers subsidizing the use of that in Eastern Washington, in Oregon, and in California, and other states, other places. The reality is that we have very few brush type events, interurban type events. The ones that we have, our current engines have been able to sufficiently fight. We do have gullies or other tree areas, but we've been successful in using what we have. That's what's actually going to respond initially and actually put anything out. I haven't heard you say that the brush truck is going to be a manned unit or a unit that's going to be responding so that it's available to come out, when they'll be there in 8 minutes or something like that. I think that part of that money, or the idea behind that money, is that, we have to be able to do everything. And I would argue we don't have to be able to do everything. We do a lot of things for other fire departments in this county, particularly in the EMS arena, lead the way and assist other entities, fire entities around the county. This is one area where particularly the small fire districts in the East and North County have more resource and more experience in this dangerous area than we do. And they would be happy to assist us when we actually need a response from a brush truck. They would be proud to. In fact, they have responded previously and are very, they enjoy the opportunity to return the favor of being able to help out the biggest fire department in the county when they have an opportunity to do so. You mentioned Chief Waller, and Chief Waller, he spoke to the Snow Isle Fire Commissioners back in June of 2021. He said that there are 23 brush trucks in the Northwest region. And my recollection from hearing Chief Hotz speak a few years before is maybe around 8 or 9 are in Snohomish County, and a certain number are always retained in the county, at least at that time. Maybe it's changed since then, for any Snohomish County needs. So it's not like the county is without brush trucks at any one time. Now, maybe this most recent fire up on Highway 2 is different, but at least in the past, that's what Snohomish County has done to make sure there's some brush truck protection. So, there are things that are nice to have. A brush truck would be nice to have, but we're putting thousands of dollars into wildland firefighting already. I talked at one of our earlier meetings. I questioned you about some of the clothing that we are paying for firefighters, and you indicated that we're doing a full wildland firefighting outfit for all of our firefighters. We're paying for that out of pocket. We're putting a lot of money into wildland firefighting, and the wildland firefighting is happening in other places, not here. Last year, when you wanted this brush truck, you had Chief Isotelo present, and he conceded when I asked him that the brush truck is used infrequently here at South County Fire. Assuming that's probably still the case, it's the big use of it is to these other locations, which is fine. That, sounds great. You've worked out this deal with District 22. that, we know we have this on lease, so it doesn't cost us any money, or they loan it to us and they make money, which is fine to expand the program. But now we're talking about investing our South County Fire dollars. And if we had, it's the nice to have, other things would be nice to have. How about a river rescue hovercraft unit, like some fire districts in North County, or a dive unit like the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office, or a bigger marine unit to do other things on Puget Sound. There's also an aviation unit, maybe. There's all sorts of nice to haves, but the question is, what do we have to have? We don't have to have a brush truck for South County Fire. And to put the $255,000 into it is our tax dollars locally. If Eastern Washington wants more brush trucks, they should buy them. If the state wants them, they should buy them. If the feds want them, the feds should buy them. But we're not going to be using brush trucks here with any frequency. And to have a brush truck is just going to be to benefit those other places, not the residents of South County Fire. So that's why I'm opposed to purchasing a brush truck. But I appreciate that you're making another stab at it this year.
My stick-to-itiveness. No, I hear you.
There you go.
And that's a lot to unpack. But Chief Cockrum, who was here interim before South County Fire was formed, before Linwood was here, he's the person that at the time said that he wanted to get a grant. And that old gear was issued to everybody back then. We're continuing to recycle that. But the initial attack before any brush engines, or you can have a state mob, are our people. And you can't wear structural gear when those events do happen. And in fact, once they get to a certain time frame, you have to transition to a wildland firefighting attack. I am the only person that I'm aware of and this incident happened at what was called the Buffalo Farm, that actually had to have a 4-alarm fire, have Chief Andrews, that was with Surfer, that now is with Sky Valley, as my aide sitting with me, say, you don't have the resources to do this, as you know, and go ahead and ask for a 5 brush engine strike team coming down from Highway 2 to be able to stop that event that was impinging on the houses to the east that are now in Mill Creek's. They're now in the city of Mill Creek, and the 5-story or so building, as you know, people drive towards Silver Firs on 132nd that live in Gold Creek, Silver Firs, and other areas that have these names with trees in them. That stuff does happen here. So I know this has been denied in the past. The argument could clearly be made that residents of Getchell District 22 are supporting South County Fire with having their resource down here. And why I propose to not have 1, 2 we're sending over to places where I grew up, right, or my family's from in Eastern Washington, I would agree with you. What I'm talking about is it's been identified through the planning, through the county and the Department of Emergency Management, that we are getting drier. There are brush fires that are happening all around us, including in our jurisdiction. I'm not asking for a helicopter like when Lake Ballinger was on fire and having Skyhawk come in and drop the bucket in the lake. I'm not asking for that, but it has been clearly identified back to Chief Wittes when the fire happened in the traction right of way, impinging upon the electrical service to this area, and we didn't have those resources. Is it going to be used all the time? No. Will it be used more if we have one? Yes. I'm not asking for more people to do it because our people have the training. And we do need to think about how our RFA has grown, how, unless something drastically changes, it is getting warmer and drier. And we're very lucky, including everyone up in the valley, that the easterly winds stopped. They could get 71% containment through nature, really, at this point. But our folks helped that fire. Our folks on that brush engine went there. And when now it's in Monroe and I see that, and I'm just thinking about it, I respect everything you're saying, Commissioner Kenny, and I understand there's state mobilizations. We get reimbursed. We're using somebody else's rig. Well, this has been asked for, but I want to be on the record as someone that, like many of us have been in this area for about half a century, that this department, this area looks much different than when my folks came here in 1972. And we used to have utility trucks and these other things, but I'm saying that we need it. I think we do for us, not for anybody else. And when that time comes and I'm standing in front, or our PIO is standing in front, or there's people here asking, why didn't you have this resource when these other agencies do? That's what I'm trying to bring forward. I think it's a good thing. And you kind of answered what Commissioner Lawrence said, why aren't you going to send it and go make some money with it? We could certainly do that, but I think we need it. So anyway, thank you, Commissioner Kenny, for your comments. And I hope I hit on everything. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Farnahoff, you have your hand up. Commissioner Farnahoff, you're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, sorry about that. Chief, I just wanted to reiterate what I thought you were saying, and that is there's a condition known as a wildland urban interface. And if I take your meaning, sir, that means that we have structures that are intertwined with foliage, forests, all sorts of things that are naturally growing and occurring that don't necessarily fit when we send our type 1 structural engine out with its big hoses and a lot of these types of things to extend very well and very quickly and very efficiently into deep forested areas that otherwise will catch fire and then move to house to house to house without certain types of specialty gear, which is typically lighter and more mobile. Is that right?
I should have asked your opinion to put that in the agenda, Bill, because you just hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
Okay. So, and the other point, which is really truly important, and I'm glad to hear the fact that this brush rig has been asked for many years, because that's important. Many years in a very short period of time, and I think most people would agree, because it's in the news. It's an international effort right now to acknowledge that our climate is changing. Things are drying out faster in areas that have not been dried before. We are looking at the wildland urban interface as being more volatile as we go forward. As the homes, if you've not realized and come down here to the Picnic Point area, we're cutting right into the forest with brand new homes. The terracing that they're doing outside looks the equivalent of building the pyramids. I've never seen the kind of engineering with these blocks just to put homes in areas, but it's still surrounded by woods. That presents a particular challenge for egress and access and getting that kind of equipment into the area, at least from my point of view, in a structural sense. And also, I have not seen in the many years that I've been associated with wildland, either as the suppressor, the firefighter, or in my job with FEMA, I was the fire management assistance grant, what they call a fire duty officer, that we had actually gone to the national preparedness level of 3, 4, and 5. Now, if you're not familiar with that scale, it basically attributes and speaks to the available firefighting resources that you have and the number of incidences that you are trying to manage. When you're at PL5, you've maxed out the scale. That means when you keep hitting that button and asking for another alarm, the chances of you getting equipment goes down, all right? And so, at least in my experience, if I were to look at the changes in the last 10 years, the amount of wildland urban interface growth that we've had in the area, it starts to make sense to revisit the conversation. And it makes sense to revisit the conversation because the expediency here, what's at issue is time. If you roll a type 1 engine, and at least in my opinion, to an area, and you can only drag that 2.5 or 3.5 or whatever we're using now as far as hoses only so far, and you're at the end of the line, and you don't have that smaller, lighter weight hose this is typically used by Forest Service, and you haven't transitioned to gear that's more appropriate, you'll burn your personnel out. You will not have the ability to get to the seat of the fire, which is always our goal, or create what is called a containment line. I know I'm talking tactics and I'm talking training here to you and probably going in one ear and out the other. But the point of it is, if you don't have the tools to do the job immediately and efficiently and expediently to take the fire out, especially at this stage of the climate change issue, I feel that you're actually missing some of the components that are necessary to understanding the argument for a capability. Now, is the 250,000 something that can be negotiated down and maybe different types of configurations out there? Absolutely. But the concept of capability, the concept of training, the concept of preparedness should not be ignored. Calling for a second or a third or a state mob takes time. I have been on fires myself where it took up to an hour to get a strike team to me, and in that time, whatever I had to deal with. So I'm just putting that out there for the sake of balance and understanding and crafting the nature of the conversation a little bit further. So I appreciate your listening to me. Thank you.
No, thank you. And, Commissioner Kenny brought up a good point. Chief Waller, who's no longer in charge of the program for the Snohomish County Fire Chiefs Association. Now it's back to Chief Eric Andrews, the former ops chief from what's now called Surfer. He's back in charge. He serves to the Northwest Fire Defense Board. He's the chief of Sky Valley Fire. I'm the chief here, but he's a really trusted resource. And I asked him the question, do we need one? Well, you should have one. Chief Hotz, same thing. Should you have one? Yes, you should have one, because just exactly what you said, Commissioner, when those resources aren't available because we're in that condition, it makes it really tough. So I just wanted to add that these folks, they're not the chief, and they have a commission that they serve to, and they have a budget, but they would agree, just like Chief Dahl would agree, that's on a type 2 team, that this is something that's going to become more common. And it's not just going to be Eastern Washington. It's not going to be just California's burning, and we're ripe for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Farnhoff. I echo your sentiments of the value add that having the brush truck will provide to the residents of South County Fire. Commissioner Lawrence, your hand is up.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Farnhoff. It's good to have the varied backgrounds here on the board. And before your time here, there was definitely discussions that the board here is a part of the team. In other words, we add a lot of value, and we assist the staff with a little bit of bouncing ideas off the wall, free thinking. So we have a value. All the different board members have different backgrounds, and so I hear what you're saying, I hear what the chief's saying, and I hear what Commissioner Kenny's saying. And this issue of how much money do we spend, and it's taxpayers' money that we're spending. Maybe we need to take a poll of the taxpayers and then a questionnaire. This is what you're getting for your tax dollars. Would you like to improve upon that by spending more? Because there are things we can do. So when some type of calamity happens, that we are more prepared to respond and maybe keep a small little fire from becoming a raging inferno. It's having men and material on the spot. An analogy, let's say World War II, which I'm fairly knowledgeable of. And whenever we could, we went in with as much firepower as we could. Invasion of the islands of the Pacific, we just bombarded them with the battleships before the troops went in. That's something, it didn't work too well there, but then the invasion of Normandy, huge amount of, we could have squeaked by a little less, but you got to get the job done. You got to have the men and material, and it costs money. So Commissioner Kenny saying, we want to spend. Well, if it's spent prudently and wisely, then we get the taxpayers, we get something in return. Do they want to spend more? Maybe we should ask them directly with a questionnaire, because you've got a pretty good chief. You and your staff have a big wish list, dishwashers for the equipment, just stuff on and on, a lot of stuff. And my goodness, it adds up quick, and already we're gonna behind the 8 ball on future revenue, and we're operating at a loss. So we want to have the Mountain Lake, they don't want to scare Mountain Lake Terrace or Briar off. Well, why don't we ask people, what are they willing to spend? They're going to want to spend another how much percentage higher in taxes to have a more well-prepared fire service. So I don't know if I made any sense there, but did my best.
From what I understand of the situation at hand that I've walked into here being on the fire commission, is that we're a good 10 years behind on making necessary investments. The can has been kicked down the road to where we're at today. And so now we're having to pick up the pieces. Had these investments been made years ago, then that would have been a smarter investment, because as you know, the dollar value degrades over time. So what was $1 yesterday is not $1 today. And so it's unfortunate these necessary investments weren't made yesterday. And so we're having to pick up that cost today. Commissioner Farnahoff. Oh, Chief,
I was just gonna say, I left something short here, and there's Lori, if you could bring up this map. I just wanted to add this narrative because what you said, Commissioner Lawrence, it's hard because we haven't asked people before, should we get a specific thing? But as your chief, when you look at this map, this is 2,144 acres that's defined as at risk. Those red parts, that's of our 53 square miles. So that's about 6%. Or about 3.4 acres of our 53 acres. So those people that live around those areas, or if something happens and that expands, the answer is clearly going to be yes. Especially if we don't have the resource. So we do have to find this balance. I appreciate what you said, Commissioner Lawrence, which is about teamwork and listening to different perspectives, because I'm not discounting any of the chiefs asked in the past or for, previous board decisions. And I'm the one that pulled this out of my proposed budget because we weren't ready for it. That 250,000, why it's there, 255, it's because everyone's getting these. We're in a supply chain issue right now. If we get one ordered after this budget is approved, we may be lucky to see it by what is now the fire season this year, which started in March. And I'm thinking that this is a resource now that we reconsider and actually consider, because outside of those places that will burn, which is that area, that 3.35, just draw a line around it. And there's some significant residents and taxpayers within our RFA. So anyway, thank you for that, Lori. It just takes a different look at that. I think that's a better visual. So thank you.
Commissioner Farnahoff, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a couple of maybe additional points to consider. When my department had wildland rigs, we did actually participate in what they call state fire mobilization. And this gave a unique opportunity. Not only did the district make money on the rig going out, and you can specify, whether or not you want to go to a particular fire. You don't have to go to every one of them. But it was also an opportunity for our volunteer firefighters to go and become paid firefighters. Let me repeat that. Volunteer firefighters going and becoming paid firefighters. Now, how does that work? That means they get actually paid by the Department of Natural Resources during the time that they're actually on the fire. This is an incredible morale booster for any programs that are out there. And since we are looking at potentially revitalizing our volunteer program, and even though within the RFA, we restrict our volunteer firefighters to, quote, rehab duties or filling up bottles, it may be something that in the future could be looked at a 2023 program as something that can keep sustainment going, keep our recruitment going, allowing people to get involved on a level that they don't normally get involved. And the other thing too, there's a trend, even though a lot of this apparatus have become these mammoth things that roll down the road, they're huge, right? And they come with really big price tags. There is a movement afoot to try to reduce the size of the apparatus, mainly to get in through very tight quarters and so forth, but also reduce the cost and make it more nimble. So you could see a hybrid, they're called Wildland urban interface engines, for example, in California, where they've taken the big, huge type 1s and the little type 6s, if you're familiar with incident command typings. 6 is usually your less capability, 1 is the big everything capability, and they've created something in between. Usually it's called a type 3. And so that type 3 rig can meet both ends of the spectrum, if you will, a house fire and a wildland fire. So there could be opportunities to look at several configurations, several price points, these kinds of things that may not necessarily dig as deeply into public funding. And I certainly appreciate Commissioner Kenny's point of view as well. How often are we going to use it? And I think that equation needs to be more or less rounded out to, is the capability available? Do we have a standard of training that we have met? Is it usable within our particular RFA? And don't forget, we have neighbors that if a fire starts in Mukilteo could end up very well into the RFA's district. So it's not about just us, it's about looking at the bigger picture and how that integrates as well. That's my 2 cents. And thank you, Commissioner Lawrence, for your kind words. I appreciate that.
No, and I can answer that question, Commissioner, and for commissioners. So the last 2 years, we had 29 responses with that Getchell unit on loan within the RFA, and an average of 15 per year if you take the time period that we've had it. So you can sort of see whether you talk about 29 and 2, since we've had it, that's been basically since right after Chief Dahl left. That's a good time period. It's actually increasing. I like what you're thinking about the type 3, and it's actually the question that I asked last year, because does it get reimbursed at a much higher level than a type 6? Has California got to them? Yes. Could we potentially think about that in an infill fire station, or where there's already a ladder truck or those sort of things, but they're more expensive. And to do that, and they'd have, as you know, great capability to get into areas, but they're a little bit sturdier, and as far as the wheelbase goes and those things. So thanks for bringing that up, because I hadn't shared that with the commissioners last year when those type 6 asked. So thank you.
Commissioner Fahrenhoff, your hand is still up. Do you want to add anything? Good. All right.
Right, so hopefully this one will be a little bit quicker, because this is also an item that I talked about last year. PIO Hines is not here and present right now, but she has been here for over 25 years. I'm going to go through this narrative again. It's going to sound a little bit familiar for commissioners that were here, but also I think for our newer commissioners too, just for consideration. As our RFA has continued to grow, and we had one public information officer when Fire District 1 and 11 came together as a 6 fire station department, and then Mount Lake Terrace came in, still 1 PIO. Edmonds came in, still 1 PIO. And now the RFA was formed, still with 1 PIO. Now that with the city of Mill Creek joining our RFA, that PIO services for fire were from Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue. They still have PIO through law enforcement or anything else. Our RFA has also grown through the census and all of these things to cover now 1/3 of the approximately 900,000 people in our county. So we've talked a lot about, I call 3 deep, or we call professional development. We also call successorship. And understanding that Leslie has done a great job, especially during the pandemic, with a benefit charge, with the addition of Mill Creek, with the changes of the RFA and all those things. We are going into an election cycle also for commissioners, where there's going to be increased media inquiries potentially. They were going to have elections just for that. We have our Siren newsletter, and we also have just the needs of the organization on an everyday basis. And I could kind of continue with that by thinking about what happens if Briar and Mount Lake Terrace want to go to ballot. What about the increased needs with that and all the workload? We also need to think about sustainability and supporting our employees. And I've also heard for the incumbent commissioners and also the newly appointed commissioners, there was commissioner candidates that came forward and said, you're doing a good job, but you might be missing part of your demographic. Not everybody's on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. People get information in different means and methods. People don't necessarily watch commissioner meetings, for example, or the Siren newsletter that comes in that's mixed in with the Valpak and everything else. There's a lot of way that information goes from us to people, including a generation of different people that got different information in the past. I'm Gen X. Commissioner Lawrence mentioned some of our veterans in World War II that are still with us. We need to think about how we, as the third largest fire agency in the state of Washington, communicates our messaging. Because we have contract cities, we have cities that have joined the RFA, and part of us being South County Fire and carrying our message, especially even in times of need, we do not have depth. So our backup PIO is Shawnery Guzman. That's on her title. People have to have vacation. They have to, unfortunately, get sick, and sometimes they retire. So what I'm proposing is a little bit different than what I talked about last year. We need another person to be able to be a public information officer, which what Leslie does currently is a much different than what she was hired for. We get inquiries from the public that are public records officer requests as well that need to be answered. We get emails. We get questions, we get phone calls, we get media inquiries. It is a lot of work. And what I'm thinking about is not only the RFA today, but what about tomorrow, and transitioning that incredible knowledge and all the history of everything that's happened with Leslie, start to work on that with another person that might be her successor someday, that could also help with messaging, help with communications, and help with whatever comes across our lap, I guess, our literal lap, that might be another opportunity for regionalization. And we could do a little bit better, I think, with social media messaging, because we don't have anybody that's just doing that. Everybody's trying to be everything to everybody. So with that, this is brought back last year, backup PIO public educator. Our people are great. Chief Fitzgerald did a great job of talking about what Shauna Rees recognized here just from the state's perspective. She's the educator of the year. We need to be the messengers of the year from my perspective. We're not a city. We can't act like one, but we need to be messengers. People look for us to lead, and they look to us for communication. Even when somebody pressed the wrong button at the county and everybody thought they needed to evacuate wherever they were at because there was a fire up in Sky Valley. Okay, so that's really what I've got. This is an FTE asked. This is a cost that would continue to keep having a revenue expenditure to support it from our budget, but it also would do a lot of what we could build upon as an organization. I think our people are doing a great job. With this, we just need another person to help do it now, and hopefully in the future or not, be part of our messaging team. So it's an ask, it's one person, and I'm going to have it at both of these items, the last one and this one, in my draft chief's budget to you on October 4th. So I want to make that clear, but that's what I've got. So happy to answer any questions on that. And I am wrapped with my decision packages for consideration and your side of the team, commissioners, that approve this budget, considering these items, and we'll have the full package to you on October 4th. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hovis. Commissioner Farnahoff, your hand up.
Yeah, Chief, I just want to ask a question about the public information officer. This is somebody who's skilled in gathering various forms of information, synthesizing, excuse me, synthesizing it and repopulating it in different formats, as you said, social media. It could be expedient flash traffic, as they used to say, as far as emergency information. Is this also a position that might conceivably serve in the RFA's version of an emergency operations center?
could assist with that, and that's a great question. So really with you know, the COVID pandemic, as you know, DEM had a JIC, and PIO Hines was part of that along with other people. So exactly, that could be that person to assist with that. Here's the thing, we're part of that team doing all of that. We still have our own needs. What about the fire that just happened? What about the event that was going to be supported? What about this meeting? Right, if Leslie has something, exactly, it adds to that depth to be able to do that. And you know what, you don't know what you have out there in the marketplace until you ask. But I think when, you know, if this is approved and we think about this, we think about maybe a job description that might look a little bit different than the one Fire District 1 published to hire Leslie 25 years ago. Because you know, a lot of people still had the newspaper delivered, and that was the television, newspapers. 25 years ago, the internet wasn't that, and people didn't have phones like these to get their messaging. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
In my world, that translates into something called situational awareness, which is incredibly valuable in any emergency. And I would agree with you in the sense that I think I would look at this job description that was generated in a previous era, and also look at the utility of that position. It's not so much of a change in what you're recruiting for, but I think it's a better supported position if we include that this person can be part of the situational awareness unit, supports emergency management in the sense of what the RFA might have internally and externally when interfacing with county. I know that in my experience, the PIOs are almost practically invaluable, because you can make all the decisions you want, but when you have to go in front of the public, in front of the cameras that are live, or the TikTok videos, or whatever we call those videos now, you know, it becomes truly important to have the right facts at the right time to deliver the right message. So I agree in having the additional cities that we do, who probably have their own version of that position, just simply means that at some point we have to hit that tipping point and be able to service everybody at that stage and at that level without reducing service. So thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, thank you. And I don't want to leave the impression that, you know, Leslie Hines or our PIO doesn't have a current job description that's appropriate. The title of PIO has changed over the 25 years along with those duties. And as we think, as our customer base is different, it's growing, and there's a wider age range, we just need to think about that, because when you look at, you mentioned the city, sir, you know, somebody that for the city of Linwood, somebody like Julie Moore was a public information officer, they're a communications manager, because PIO, you know, is one title. And I think we just need to be progressive, and so that builds into that too, because you know, PIOs didn't need to know how to do social media back then. So you are understanding what I am trying to explain and the need, and this is a bring back. So thanks all of you commissioners for the opportunity to at least express that we can think about doing this maybe a little bit better in the future with another person. Additional person, just to be clear, not another additional person. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hovis. Any other questions for him on his decision package for the PIO? All right, we will go ahead and move forward with committee updates.
Thank you, commissioners.
Bylaws, Commissioner Rowland, Vice Chair Rowland.
Yes, we are going to be meeting this Thursday. I just got that nailed down this evening to begin work with the parliamentarian. He's going to be meeting with us, so starting the process.
All right, were you able to coordinate that with Melissa?
Yes,
communications.
I was going to get in touch with her right after the meeting. So
okay. Intergovernmental with Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, actually, I haven't got a chance to talk to Chief Hovis. What's the response from the Briar, the letter that we sent?
We have not gotten a response to our letter in response to what their request was at this time, and I have nothing new to report from the city of Mount Lake Terrace either at this point.
Okay, so yeah, I think since they have committee, I know we're busy, they're busy with budget. You and I can talk. What's a good timing for that? And by the way, I didn't even read the email, but I guess I'm resigning from the bylaw committee. So they have given the position for another commissioner can join in there. So so that's all the committee update.
Thank you, Commissioner Chan. With regards to Snow 911, the topic that they discussed at the meeting was continuing on at 100% remote or trying to do a hybrid. I, working full-time in the private sector, advocated for 100, or at least doing the hybrid. Showing up in person makes it difficult for me. Continue the discussion of the 2023 budget, and they also recognize that they will, with regards to Station 76, need to do some technology upgrades. South County Fire does things differently than Surfer, so some adjustments will need to be made there for Snow 911, and they're also looking to do a dispatcher engagement resolution, and that's to try and help with the employee retention. So I think that that's a good plan for them because it's a high stress job and there's a high turnover, and to do things differently to mitigate those things, I think is a good thing. So we will go into commissioner comments. Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all the budget presentation. The last 10, 20 minutes, I've been shut myself up and it's really difficult. One thing Commissioner Daniel, you and I need a cup of coffee. I think you heard that before you joined this thing, you heard about we're not investing the last 10 years. If you put me in the framework, 10 years ago, that's 2012. I'll let you know what our budget was like that. We do not have any reserve. We have about $2 million reserve. And that's the time that we basically, we make a promise to keep the boot on the ground. We have freeze our hiring, okay? And the labor is really good. They gave up the cost of living. We have to shut down our public education completely. We have shut our training division because we do not have any, we're not hiring anyone. And then we have early retirement in the building, basically a lot of deputy chief and all that. So by saying that we're not investing, that is not, if you were in that situation, we don't have any money to invest. So kind of, I don't know, you and I need a cup of coffee. I can tell you exactly what's happening rather than go and listening to some outside group that may give you the idea. Okay. Now, after that, I'm saying that I'm still thinking, yes, Commissioner Kenny said that, am I going to give up the title of Dr. No? I'm now become Dr. Reasonableness, okay? And I know that we need to spend some money. We need to invest. But except that, we got to have a balance of what's the priority. So I have been always promoting that we just give Chief Hovis a lump sum of money and he prioritizes it. Which one is more important than the other, right? Just any CEO of any company, and he knows the company the best. Of course, we, the commissioner, have reserved the right to line item rejections. If something we think it's not that we don't support, we don't like it, we don't want it, but because we say we got to balance the budget, right? Now, I'm now writing even, okay, we're the reserve it. We're gonna spend some money. The biggest concern I have is 2024. I bet you last dollar, everything is going to be get us to need to do more. So we got to have good reserve fund there so we can spend on 2024. Today we just saw the Mount Terrace, the private ambulance is closing down. Okay, so now I don't know how they're going to affect us, but we might need some more in there. And another thing is that I know that there's one, I just saw the article that another Pierce County asking for lift. If they don't get it, they will lay off half of the staff of 100 people. Okay, one of our neighbor, big neighbor, also below lift did not pass. If they could not, they failed the first time. If they failed the second time, they have the big layoff. So Commissioner Lauren, you mentioned about how can we explain people what do we need? That's when you do it, do the lift, why you want the lift, why you need the money, what you want to do. But in general, citizen, I'm not saying voters, not that familiar with all this detail. They really do not know. The only way you really get money is really you're building a fire station, the more solid thing that they would do. So again, I'm suggesting that what we need is, I have asked a couple of times already for Chief Bothwell, talk about a banking facility and see what money we have. And then we can just lump sum and give it to the chief, and so that he will prioritize it. And so that, again, we are working together. It's not ask and denial. I don't want to get in a situation that, saying no to some good cause in here. So I learned it from my mom. I think I shared with some commissioner. My mom just say, I want a big birthday party. My mom say, no, here's so darn amount. You can take the money and forget about a birthday party or whatever. It's your choice. She's not going to granting every single thing I ask. All right, so that's my approach, and I hope for October 4th, we can come up number. I mean, Chief CFO, you're going to give us some banking capacity and all that stuff, right? On October 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get a complete budget proposal from the chief, and we can revisit the revenue capacity analysis with that as well. So,
well,
absolutely.
I will be really comfortable if I know I have a good reserve fund, and that's what I'm looking for. One more question for Chief. I just talked to Congressman Delbany. She said she got us fund for the overpass for Linwood. Do you know what that's all about? I never heard about that.
I know that the city of Linwood has a lobbyist that works on specific, funding measures. There's a lot of federal money that would be included for, infrastructure development. I know that she flew home from Washington, D.C. with a member of our local union's executive board recently this year, and that was a topic of conversation. I don't know much about it, Commissioner Chan, but I know the cities are working hard to secure federal funding in this very unique time of billions of dollars being infused into the nation during the pandemic and afterwards.
That's part of what was the infrastructure fund or whatever that
exactly.
is. Exactly. So would that be solving my concern about 164, the crossover?
Yeah, very, very doubtful, because that's still within the city of Linwood's municipal urban growth area, or their MUGA, and then Mill Creeks is on the other side that they could annex to. And you've got the state, involved with I-5 and the overpass. And to answer your question, to get to Ashway from the other side of 13th and 164th, that's already in my career been redone once. And kind of like everything in Washington, needs another lane or two on both sides.
I don't know exactly, but to me, then I had less worry, because that the traffic 100%. Is going bad. We got to figure out some way, and we talk about
sure,
a backfill station, all this stuff. I think we can start working on it. 2024 is coming here right away.
I agree. And when Commissioner Fernahoff mentioned that type 3, I mean, if you're going to do an infill station, sure, you could, run that as a structural. They do both. So I'm thinking those things too. I do want to mention, Commissioner Chan, I did have a conversation with Chief Schmidt. You're talking about Arlington Heights or Arlington Rural Fire District 21. It's been very difficult for them to pass levies. They don't, do the same thing as us. They don't have our reserves. They didn't have full-time professional people until about 3 years ago. So that's a tough area to get past, but we do need to watch those areas, and we wish them the best as they reconsider running that levy again, because it would have impacts on their people. So we'll wish the best for them when they bring that back to ballot.
Right. No, I think that's why I want to get everybody knows about it.
Definitely. That's a good thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Chan, when I said over the last 10 years, I meant not only 2012, but 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 22. So it wasn't just one finite year. It's over the course of that timeline.
Right. No, but if you
Point
sit
of
down and
order,
cough with me, and then I can explain to
order.
you.
Point of order, you guys duke this out on your own time here, okay?
No, I'm not duking. I'm just saying that.
Well, you're arguing about
inside there.
something. You
So
guys need to
we
educate
can have a cup of coffee. All right.
All right,
Then-
can I talk? I had my hand up here for about an hour.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Okay. So David's idea of a lump sum and let the staff figure out where it goes, I think that's brilliant. I'm all for that. So just what size is the lump sum? That's the question. Question for Chief Fitzgerald. Alfie's Pizza. Did they have any fire suppression? Chief Fitzgerald?
Commissioner, yeah, sorry about that. I was
Yeah.
delivering something else that you had asked for earlier. So they had limited fire suppression system in a portion of the basement of the building. The building, of course, was vacant, not abandoned, but vacant. And the cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Well, apparently, I guess when they let something completely burn down, it's pretty hard to find the source of the fire, or if it was arson or whatever, right? So,
Well, I think that's a mischaracterization that anybody let it burn down. It was well involved in fire by the time that firefighters arrived, and they did a great job at protecting what was remaining, for sure. But yeah,
the days things have changed over the year. Usually they go in and right, but we just kind of squirt water on them nowadays. Now, all right, thanks, Chief. We there was some fire, so fire. What do they call it? What do you call it? Fire.
Fire sprinkler system.
Yeah, sprinkler suppression. Okay, but it didn't work too well apparently.
Well, it was in a portion of the building, but there was a catastrophic failure that occurred in that building. Not much that I want to go into yet because that's still under investigation.
Okay, and yeah, there's been a lot of arson stuff going on in that area. So yeah, maybe that, who knows? Okay, my third thing was we've been having like really long meetings here for, our 3 meetings here. I'd like to see less on the agenda. Yeah, so we can get done at a reasonable time because my brain's dead by this time. And maybe all the time, it depends on your point of view. So can we have less on the agenda? And then we're doing this budget time. We better be thinking about 4 meetings a month, or 5 if it's a 5 Tuesday month. I'd really like to get done, before midnight. Well, actually, how about like 9 o'clock? As we'd be done at 9. The staff would probably like to get home too. We just got too much on the agenda here. That's my beef. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. Commissioner Farnhoff.
I just want to say I do appreciate the work and that's at our senior leadership with the RFA puts into the agenda, the thought, and Chair Daniels, the thought and the time and the effort that you take to put into the agenda. It's always a solid agenda, and I have to back up Commissioner Lawrence though on the finer point of it is that we need to find a way to more expediently get through what we need to get through. Make sure that senior leadership has a good, solid discussion with the commissioners, so we're not shortchanging them, but at the same time being respectful of everybody's time, and I do appreciate that. And Commissioner Lawrence were to put it to a vote, I'd second it definitely. And it's true. I think we're a healthier commission if we can move through each one of the topics, and I really do enjoy when Commissioner Chan and Commissioner Kenny, both of our senior commissioners here on the board with years of experience, chime in and give us some perspective, because sometimes us new little appointees may not fully understand the big picture. And Vice Chair Rowland, and what you bring to the table is amazing. And then everybody else here that's on the call, I just want to say you're very patient. Chiefs, all of you, and Mike and Chris, thank you so much for all you do. And then of course, Melissa's got to capture the whole thing so she can reflect everything. So thank you, Melissa. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fahrenhoff. Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah, don't forget Sandra. She's great.
Yes, she is.
Okay, before just and a question was asked about well, anyway, Commissioner Lawrence, you asked a question earlier. I know the answer and I'll let you know, but it won't be tonight. I won't call you tonight, but I've got the answer to your question you asked me earlier. Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you everyone for the meeting, and we'll go ahead and adjourn here at 10:24 at night. Bye.
See you guys. Good evening.
Bye-bye.